He was a man of many talents.
He was an individual with a broad foundation and a love of life.
He was more than just a scientist. He was an artist, he was an educator, he was a humanitarian, and he did so much to help others.
Scientist, professor, a leader, a man of faith.
He was a conservationist.
He was very creative, and he had a childlike wonderment about life.
He loved humanity in the beginning. He loved black and white.
George Washington Carver was a man of hope.
Who was George Washington Carver? George Washington Carver's rise from slavery to scientific accomplishment has inspired people worldwide. Even today, children study the story of Carver, and lists of prominent African Americans always contain his name. Yet time has dulled the luster of his reputation, reducing him to the man who did something with peanuts. George Washington Carver was a complex man who had many gifts. In 1941, Time magazine dubbed him the Black Leonardo.
George Washington Carver was an artist. He was a scientist. He was a geologist. He was a poet. He was a Bible scholar. That's a Renaissance man.
George Washington Carver was a creative genius who was able to invoke personal and shared identities to protect him from the variances of enslavement, discrimination, and who took those negative experiences and translated them into a unit of humanity that is extraordinary, locally, nationally, and internationally.
Following Carver's death in 1943, the nation rushed to memorialize him. Congress made his birthplace a national monument. Postage stamps and coins were issued with his likeness, and naval vessels and scores of public buildings were named in his honor.
He was a man of concern, a man of vision, a man who actually wanted to make a difference. And the difference wasn't necessarily for him. It was a difference for other people.
Born into slavery in the final months of the Civil War, George Washington Carver rose to become one of the best-known and widely respected African Americans in the world. Henry Ford called him the world's greatest living scientist. Presidents and poor black farmers alike praised him. Mahatma Gandhi's assistant asked him for advice in creating a vegetarian diet for the Indian activists. Groups as different as the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the United Daughters of the Confederacy honored him.
He's a usable hero for Americans, and I think that's a disservice to Carver. I think he is important for a lot of reasons other than that.
In reality, Carver was a complicated man. Thousands of people around the world held warm affection for him and regarded him as a personal friend. Yet Carver never married, lived alone in a dormitory room most of his adult life, seldom socialized, and worked by himself in his laboratory. He was known for his humility and simplicity, wearing a tattered suit adorned by a single flower in his lapel. He devoted his life to helping African American farmers suffering the oppression of racism, poverty, and ignorance.
He used to quote this little poem called "It's Service That Measures Success." And that the gist of it was, it isn't the price of the clothes that you're wearing or the number of servants who come at your call. It's service that measures success. He stated things simply and beautifully, and that's one thing that I think makes him so relevant, is that he's accessible.